All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. So, I am sufficiently late on the train to talking about this game, but I have played a considerable amount of it, and I want to talk about this game. So, this is Genshin Impact, and I just want to talk about what this game is for those of you that don't know, and what I think of it in general, because I think I've got maybe an interesting perspective on this game in general. So this is Genshin Impact. It is an open world game that is on PC, phones, and PlayStation 4, but for a variety of reasons I won't go into, you should probably play this on PC or phones and not PlayStation 4. It is an open world game that is very Breath of the Wild-esque. As you can see, I am gliding right now. I can assure you there are climbing mechanics as well, which we will fly down here and do. Hey, look at that. There's a stamina bar. Displayed in a very similar way to the way Breath of the Wild displays it. That is, besides there being a fairly expansive open world, pretty much where like the real similarities with Genshin and Breath of the Wild, that's kind of where they stop. Like, you can place markers on the map, but as useful as those are here and in Breath of the Wild, they're honestly less important in Breath of the Wild than they are here for a number of reasons. This game is anime as fuck. We have a whole host of anime-looking motherfucking characters. There are tons of characters that you can get, and that is a point of contention to even starting this game. So before we go any further with what Genshin is, this game is a gacha. What is a gacha? That is G-A-C-H-A, gacha. A gacha game gets its name from gachapons, which is what people in Japan call those machines where you put a quarter in and you spin it and you get a little toy in a bubble. That's a gachapon over in like the Asia territories, and that's where this gets this name, because you roll for things. Basically, there are banners, which you'll see here. This is the Klee banner. This is one of the characters I'm using, and I have a chance to get this character when I roll using fates, which is converted from Primogems, which is converted from Genesis crystals. All of these, levels of obfuscation to what it costs to roll. That being said, gachas have been around for a long time, and this is kind of the first gacha that is a real game and not a JPEG collector, which puts it in kind of a new ground for what these games are. Without going into it too much, because I don't want to retread the ground that is very, very well worn by people who have the ability to see things with their eyeballs. I don't like gacha as a mechanic or as a way to get money, like for developers and stuff. That being said, it is highly, highly profitable. It is insanely profitable to such a degree that, honestly, do we expect them to stop if people don't stop paying for it? No, not at all. So I could go into the territory of, like, just complaining about the gacha, but I'm not going to do that because you should all know gacha is bad. If you have a problem with, like, gambling habits and stuff like that, this is literally loot boxes in a different form. So if you don't have control over, like, what you spend on video games, I'm going to advise you to not touch this game with a 10-foot pole. Straight up, out and out. But basically, you can roll for characters and weapons, and then there's like a standard thing where there's different chances for what you're going to get per each one. With that out of the way, I want to actually talk about this game because I think this game is actually really impressive. So you start in the first territory, which is up here, which is Mondstadt, and you just wash up on this beach after an intro sequence where you choose your main character, which is either a male or female version of this character right here. So basically, this is, for all intents and purposes, in this universe, the avatar, and she or he can switch their element based on the god statues they've interacted with. Currently, there's Anemo and Geo, which is 2 of the 6 elements represented in the game. That being said, the story follows your main character trying to find your sibling, as both characters are present in the game, no matter which one you choose. And the intro cinematic is really neat. It is kind of a hook. Like, it's got some cool shit going down. Like, it's very anime. It's very that. But it's neat. And then you'll travel through Mondstadt doing a whole lot of, honestly, really interesting story. Like, it's very tropey and very anime, but for all the anime and trope that it is, the characters are very fun, and like it's a great storyline to just be able to play through. Like, I'm at the point in this game where I don't have any quests left. I've literally done all the quests that they've released so far, and I'm adventure rank 40 of the 60 possible, and the main storyline quests currently end at about AR 28. So, very clearly, this game has hooked me pretty well. And for good reason, too, because this game does something that is not very expected, I think, because this game is playable on phones. And I would say that the combat in this game is actually like more difficult and often deeper than what you'd get out of like Breath of the Wild. And the reason for that is because I can just switch characters on the fly. You have a party of 4 characters that you're building up. So I've got Klee, she has bombs, and she has like a big jumping bomb that explodes into mines whenever it's done. All characters have an ult, which you can see charged up on all my characters right now. Klee's is like a Starfell bombs that just shoot at enemies all over, and like just orbital lasers or charged attack and shit. Like, she does explosions. That's what this character is about. Official, she's got a bow, which differentiates her moveset immediately. She has a bird that she can summon, and then her ult is that she can transform into a raven. And then this is going to constantly shoot electricity, and this stays on the field even when I switch characters, so it can interact with my other abilities very easily. Venti literally has motherfucking Rivali's Gale. So there's that. He does wind stuff, and he also has a giant vortex that zoops enemies together for the purposes of blowing them up real easily with Klee. And he's also a bow user, but you can see his moveset is actually different from Vishal's in some, pretty major ways. His first shot is 2 shots, which, interacts with how crit works and stuff in this game. Then we have Barbara, who is a healer. She uses, like, water magic to heal. She has, like, a big heal as her E, and then she can do some ranged magical attacks and charged attacks. So, these are just the 4 characters I've chosen to put together. All the characters can do a lot of different things. A lot of characters have different possible things they can do. Vishal is a great, like, main DPS or support. Like, Chongyun is a, like, huge greatsword user that has ice powers. Like, Razor literally has a fucking stand. Like, he's got a big wolf stand that he uses in battle. There's actually a whole lot of variation between these characters. And it's worth noting that for any given one of these characters, like if we look at Razor, there is a lot of characterization and story for these characters put into them. Like, you unlock more of their actual storyline stuff as you like essentially keep using them and the friendship level goes up. But literally all of these characters, with the exception of 2 characters for English, which is your main character, and Oz, who is the companion official, they're not voiced in English, but everyone else is voiced. And these are just like more characterization for the characters. For Razor, he's kind of dumb and not very deep. He was raised by wolves. Ignore him. But if we look at, like, say, Venti, for example, Venti will have, like, entire conversations about what's happening because he's a bard and such. So the characters kind of actually are fully realized. They're not just like, hey, what have you got there? Oh, it's Sword Lady. Although, I will say, we do just have Sword Lady. That's also available. But yeah, like, the characters, they're in the story. Like, you're going to run into Klee, you're going to run into Venti, like, Barbara is around, like, Jean is one of the commanders you run into pretty early on. Like, these characters are all, like, in-world and doing stuff and a part of, like, real events, and there's, like, boss encounters and big things happening in this game, and it's really engaging. And with that, I will say that this game, before I go any further once again, I suppose, is very, very free-to-play friendly. I have seen many people have spent nothing on this game, literally nothing, fully free-to-play, and they're at AR 40, very happy with their team comps and all that stuff. And that is for a couple different reasons. The first reason is that you can grind the primary currency for wishing, which is these Primo Gems. You get Primo Gems for pretty much everything. Like, your dailies give them, quests give them, opening chests gives them, doing the Abyss levels gives them. You're going to get a whole lot of Primo Gems, especially earlier on. So you're going to be able to roll these banners, and you're going to get some characters one way or another. So you'll have more than the initial roster of free characters that they give you, which is, of course, your main character, Kaya, Amber, and Lisa. And then, as a kind of extension of that, currently, the characters that they've given out is Zhangling, you get from the Abyss, and I think that's going to be ongoing. And Barbara, at least until their next major update 1.1, is free for everyone who got to AR20. And they're actually going to be giving out official with the next major update. So there's going to be some other characters that are essentially free, just if you happen to be playing the game, that people are also going to have access to. Also, it's worth noting that this game does use star rankings for characters and for weapons. So if I look at my weapon here, the slingshot, this is a 3-star weapon that I could switch up with like one of my 4-star weapons, but I like the slingshot quite a bit, so I'm sticking to that as it stands currently. So weapons generally are stronger at higher star ratings, and there are not any 5-star weapons that you can currently farm. However, there are a selection of very strong 4-star weapons that you can farm out and use those. And pretty much all the characters really, like, those weapons are very, very good. It's the primary thing that I'm using on Klee. But if it really, really bugs you that, like, you're not going to be able to get a 5-star weapon, at least as of right now, without rolling for it, and that your chances of getting that 5-star item are extremely, extremely low, also probably a deal breaker for a lot of people. For me, I think the 4-star weapons are fine, and all that business. For character business, Klee is a 5-star character, Fischl's a 4-star character, Venti's a 5-star, Kaching's a 5-star, Jean is a 5-star, your main character is considered a 5-star, and I think that's all the 5-star characters I have. All the other characters are 4 stars. I will say that there is not really a notable difference between the 4-star and 5-star characters, other than all of the 5-star characters have an animated, like, zoom-in camera angle ultimate. Some of the 4-star characters have it, but all of the 5-stars do. That's really the main difference, other than the 5-stars, like, are considered to be very strong, but the 4-stars are also super, super strong. Fischl's a 4-star, and she's honestly better than some of the 5-star characters that are in this game, in my evaluation, at least. So there's a lot of talk about the monetization of this game, obviously, but I really do think that this is a really good game, despite the way that it's monetized, because I've been playing it every day since it came out. It's been out for like a month and some change, and I'm having a really good time with it, just building up my characters, with the major exception of one point, and that is that I actually have some criticism for this game that I relate very much to some Warframe criticism that I've had in the past, and that is that in order to level your characters, if we look at Venti here, if I want to level Venti, you use skill books. You'll get a very, very tiny amount of XP from random mobs in the world, but in general, you're going to use skill books, and you're going to gain levels by dumping these skill books and Mora, which is the just gold coins in the game, into these characters in order to get levels. And these skill books are farmable. So you boost those up to get higher levels in the game. At current, my characters, like my main DPSs are level 80, and like my support units are level 60 right now, and I'm working on leveling them up at current, right? The problem that I've come into is that the kind of late game progression in this game doesn't really follow, to me, with the monetization that they've put forth. What I mean by that is that, ostensibly, as a company, they would want me to roll for characters, right? Like, I rolled for Klee, and like Klee is like a main character that I'm using right now, which is great. Klee's super fun. She makes things explode. Hooray. But very, very soon here, in 9 days even, there's going to be, the new update is coming out, and there's going to be new characters that are going to be on banner, and there's like new 5 stars, new 4 stars, a bunch of characters to level. And the leveling curve is such in this game that they're devaluing their spend money system. So if a new banner were to come out right now, or even in 10 days, whatever, I would look at it and tell you it has no value at all whatsoever. And the reason for that is that if we look at the investment I've put into here, like these level 80s, in order for a person to get a character from level 0 to 80, which would mean I'd be able to actually use them in my squad, because I'm on like a high world level and that can't be lowered, I would have to spend months, getting them up to par, because the game kicks a lot of like the experience books and the Mora and stuff at you during like a lot of major quests and things, but does not do that whenever you're actually trying to farm them. So we have ley lines, which are like these things that give you experience books and stuff. And you can see these little moons. This is Resin. So Resin is the stamina system of this game. So basically, you get 1 resin every 8 minutes, right? And just getting 3 or 4 of these books costs 20 of that. So basically, you can do this 8 times a day. And if the mathematical breakdown, if you go into it, in order for me to get a new character and get them up to snuff, I would need like, it's a full week of like these purple and like these books all together. And that's all of my stamina from the full week, which is 160-ish per day, essentially. So that's an entire week of the stamina that I'm getting. And that goes without farming any of the Mora that I need, which would also be about a full week of my stamina. So that's 2 weeks. But then also, if it's an electric character, I farm this boss, which costs 40. And this is, you know, a little bit more random. So it's not really determinate how many this is going to take me. So it's probably going to take at least a few days. And characters also have like talents that they can level up, so they'll need specific books for that, which is also going to be like 20 stamina a run. So the thing that this game has done is that basically, if a new character were to be added to my squad, I don't really have a way to level them, because if I'm just trying to level like my current squad, that's all of my resin. Like trying to get someone like the additional 60 levels to catch up to the characters I'm already using is like a grind task that is enormous. So the thing that, obviously it's not just me, this has been a very common community complaint for the game, has been that basically like the stamina system just kind of doesn't go with the wishing system. Like if they want us to get the shiny new character, we have to be able to, within a reasonable amount of time, farm the stuff to use the shiny new character. Otherwise, what the hell do we want the shiny new character for? Like having a hammer you can't swing. But yeah, that's really where like my major complaint, outside of course like the gacha stuff that I could go into for hours, about this game, is that late game the stamina stuff becomes an issue. And there's a number of different solutions to that. They could just make it so that your dailies give you these things called fragile moons, which refresh this number, so you could save them up for weekend use or use them right on the spot each day. They could make it so that the costs on all the resin events are 1/4 of what they are. They could, you know, cut the replenishment time for the resin down a bunch. Like they could split the difference and make it so the costs are in half and the recharge time is in half. So it takes 4 minutes to refresh, and half as much resin is used on things. Like there's a ton of solutions to the problems that I'm presenting here, because this is like the major late game problem you're going to run into. But what's interesting to me is that this major late game problem that you're going to run into really is one that's just like, hey, play the game less, because it wants you to like, you know, get on and do some dailies and like, I guess, log off. But like, once again, the amount of time that you'd have to sink into things to do their monetization part just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So while you can technically spend either Fragile Moons or Primo Gems, which are the premium currency, to refresh, and you can refresh up to 5 times a day for half of your total amount of stamina, if you're spending Primo Gems on this, it's not a good deal. Like, even if you're whaling, you're taking the time. Like, if you're just spending constant money on, like, Primo Gems constantly, every single day you're refreshing the maximum amount and spending all of it, even that's like not a good proposition, even if you're someone with infinite money, because you're taking it from like multiple months to like level a character or two, and you're taking it down to like half a month, which I think is still an absolutely terrible proposition. Even if you're in a situation where you have like infinite dollars. Like if you're very rich, even then it's like, well, I don't want to wait 2 weeks, because you can just throw money at the problem and it'll go away in most of these gacha type games. So it's very strange to me that this game doesn't even allow that to happen, which would also benefit it monetarily, I would think. So yeah, that's the major problem that's in here. And that is like they're starting to like maybe like look at the resin thing. Like whenever things go on, like this cap is going to be increased to 160, which really doesn't do anything. But at least maybe they'll change it going forward, as it's, like I said, this is the actual major problem with like the flow of the game, and I think it inhibits them making money, so they don't have any reason to not change it, in my evaluation. But yeah, aside from that, like, stuff to do in this game is pretty numerous, even once you're out of like the major quests and things. Like, there are weekly bosses. There's a big wolf you can fight along with a boss up here in Storm Terror's lair. And then like world events and stuff. Like, I've got things marked all over here. The stars you see are like my artifact farming route. And these like angry symbols are like just different bosses that I've marked out that are random spawns in the world. You've got like this book here, which will lead you to some of the bosses that it's going to mark out in the world, like this Electro Mage and like these big Ruin Guards and stuff, and all these things. And I know in this video, I've not shown a whole lot of the actual gameplay because there's a whole lot of stuff that's on the edges. But basically, I just wanted to go through and show some combat so that it's in here so you can kind of see what I'm getting into. With that, I am going to just point out that I have kind of tailor-made this crew to go together. So these enemies are going to get fucking decimated. Those of you that have seen me play Warframe, you know that I usually just try and build the most OP shit, and then I use the most OP shit because it's really good. That's kind of what I've done here, is that I've just put some OP shit together. And while it's not all like optimal builds and stuff, because if we look at the characters, like they also have artifacts that you farm and then level, and like I've got 4 epics on here, and then like 1 legendary artifact and stuff. And all these are leveled except for the legendary, which I haven't put any resources into. These are all leveled. So there's that. And like my weapon's powered up, but like not refined, which is the thing you can do with these crafted weapons and things. Like, characters not on like the top end of what they could be doing. None of them are. But mechanically, they work together very well.
Think you can get away?
For a variety of reasons. Like in this case, you saw me use the character's ult, and in the bottom right, you can see it's on cooldown because I fully recharged it already. That is going to be a running theme of my party. I vortex all the enemies. I put an element into the vortex to swirl it, and then I blow them all up with fire. And if there's a large enemy in the group, I use Fischl and do the electric plus fire combination to kind of eliminate it post-haste. And sometimes whenever it's just a single enemy, I'll just blow them up all regular like. The thing I will say and give this game credit for is that regular enemies have value. Like these regular dudes right here. They have a good amount of value because the materials that they drop are really, really needed for leveling up characters. Like these masks that I'm getting for these guys, like I'll use it for characters and weapons like all over the place. So just going out into the world and actually continuing to kill these enemies is really, really nice. Like this shaman here, I know drops scrolls, and I need tons of scrolls to level my stuff. So that's really nice to have. And got this big boy. You can actually drop a variety of things. But I need these scrolls. And this rock shield here, I've got bombs. So they do like a good amount of damage to the rock shield. And I could go around the shield, obviously, but it's usually better for me if I just blow the shield up. There we go. He's taken care of now. Have to get rid of this boy up here on the tower. Not the tower, the hill. And I will say that this is just some of like the random open world combat. So it's not going to be as hard as a lot of like the domains and stuff that are available that have like special modifiers and things like that. This is just kind of random like running around killing dudes combat. But I do need to heal still because it is high level and I have not leveled my HP item. It's got that going for it. Character switching, as you can see, does have a small cooldown, which is a thing. These enemies are super dead. Nice. I got one of the rare scrolls there, which is really good for me. But yeah, like, This is generally, like, there are elemental reactions with things. Like, I have fire bombs. Those react with the water. That steam you see is a vaporized reaction happening. Whenever my electric character combines with my fire character, I get a state called Overloaded, which goes through shields, and it breaks rock elemental stuff. Venti is going to swirl any elements I put on things and make it an AoE. And then Barbara is healing and also putting water on stuff when necessary, like we're going to see up here with this fire mage with its shield. It's very effective at knocking it down, even as compared to, like, if we look at this fire mage, a swirl does very little, but whenever I apply water, it does a ton to the shield. So that's a part of just, like, the element game. And there's going to be, like, certain enemies that are tough for certain parties, just due to the way some of the, like, groups can be set up, which I think is interesting. Yeah, whenever you build, like, a reasonable party comp, though, which I think I have, the combat is... Can I see a little blue thing back here? Hello. The combat is, like, pretty snappy and like, quick whenever you know, just whenever, depending on how you build. And then this little spirit here, this is, like, one of the open world events. Basically, there are open world chests that you can find. There's puzzles to do, which I think I've done pretty much all the puzzles. And then there's these little guys to find that are going to come back to their little towers and then give you a chest. Chests are going to give you adventure experience, often, like, sigils, and then, like, mora and items to level your other stuff. And the chests are basically, like, the main source of a ton of the, like, the primo gems you're going to get in order to to roll on the, like, character banners and stuff. So there's a lot of incentive to go out and collect as many of those as you possibly can. And yeah, there's just, like, there's a good variety of enemies that makes it feel like it, like, doesn't get old. Like, I've gone around and farmed, like, a bunch of the enemies I need materials from, like, every day for, like, honestly a couple of weeks now, and it's just been super fun to kind of, like, refine my party and, like, switch what I'm using around and, like, try and find better solutions to, like, the routes that I'm doing on the map and things like that, where it's like, hey, I need slimes, so I know that I need the material that all slimes can drop, which is, like, this slime condensate. So I know that if I particularly need slimes, this area right here is a shitload of slimes. There's a bunch of water slimes that hang out on the coast here, so I can go there for whenever I need slime materials. And, like, I've got things marked, like, right here, which is, like, a mage. Like, we're about to see one of those mages coming up here. Because there's also one right here that I've marked because I need the mage material for a bunch of my Electro characters and things. And it's, for me, it's just a compelling open world that has, like, fun traversal that I could just, you know, just grind on it, and it's just fun. Like, there's a lot of quests and stuff, and because the story is, like, actually pretty compelling, I'm not gonna throw any of that stuff in here to, like, spoil it for anybody, because, like, it's actually interesting. Like, I enjoyed my time going through all the quests, and, like, I can't wait for there to be more because it's been really fun so far. But yeah, it's just it's a really polarizing situation to be in, because on the one hand, I think this is a really fun open world game that looks really cool and has a lot of compelling characters and has a story that, like, I actually want to play. And on the other hand, it's a gacha game. And I understand why people don't play this game, because it's a gacha game. I get it. But because I'm someone who, in my evaluation, I can spend responsibly enough in this game and, like, only do what I think, like, actually has value, that I can play this game and not, you know, have too much of an issue, especially with the issue the game currently has, which is that it kind of disincentivizes you from spending money, which is a weird issue for this game to have. But yeah, also, just if anyone's curious, the total amount that I've spent on this game is $165, which does sound very high, but $50 of that I was pressured into by my lovely girlfriend, and that was just fine, because that was just, like, a goof troop thing where she just wanted me to roll. So there's that, which still places us at $115. That being said, I spent $100 really, really early in this game, and then never spent money for like a long period of time until I had farmed the equivalent amount of currency in game to basically like equate out the amount of farming I did with like the amount of money I spent. And that was really quick. Like that was like 2 weeks into the game, I had farmed that much currency. Like we tallied it all up and I had earned more than I had spent, spending like $100 on the game. So it does throw a large amount of the premium currency at you. But still, $165 is $165. The other two things I spent on were there is a battle pass in this game that I am almost done with. I did the evaluation on if $10 for the battle pass is going to be worth it, and I evaluated that if I'm going to finish the battle pass, sure, I'll spend $10 on it, and I'm one level away from it being done, and there's more than a week left, so I evaluated correctly on that, of course. And then there's a like value spending type thing essentially that they've done, which is this thing, which is the Blessing of Welkin Moon. You get 300 of the Genesis crystals, and then you get 90 of the Primo gems every day for 30 days. So you essentially get 3,000 of the premium currency for $5, which if we look at what their story is here, you can see how that equates out and how it's like a much better deal. So if you're going to be playing long term and you don't want to spend on any of these things, if you treat this game like a subscription game and just do like this blessing, it is probably one of the better ways to play the game because this essentially comes out to being like almost like 20 rolls whenever you look at it in that way. So $5 for 20 rolls, you know, it's going to be a different value proposition to everybody. But if you wanted to spend responsibly in this game, what I would say is go for this. And then if you know you're going to finish the battle pass, I think that's a pretty safe one to take. Yeah, like I just really have been wanting to talk about this game because I literally want to make videos for this game on how to farm shit and talk about the like rates in the gacha break missiles, the rates in like the gacha and like how they work and just how everything functions because I find it to be quite interesting. So expect some like more videos on this game straight up. Like that's oh shit. There's a lot of robots here. This is one of those situations where... Ow. Oh, spinning hammer hands. We don't like that. I have not done this area since the level of my world went up. Seems like it's a little bit of a problem. Ow, very hurt. Okay. Yeah, there are also situations like this, where the enemies suddenly, you're in an area where they're much more threatening. You are invincible during this animation. Probably kill this one. Oh shit, I'm out of stamina. Oh, good. Alright, stamina is used for dodging. So that could have been very bad. Yeah, that's like an example of one of the more difficult combat scenarios that they can throw at you. Just like throwing a shitload of the larger bosses at you. Oh, nice Chaos Core. I need those. But yeah, like... It's a really compelling game. Like, it's legitimately good. And it's just a situation where if you like this type of game and you have control over like not overspending on like the gacha system just to get some character, then I legitimately do think this is a good game. There's a lot of content here. If they fix the resin stuff, that would be like really major for like long-term enjoyment of this game. And honestly, the long-term probably money making for them just seems like a better proposition for anyone trying to get new characters if you could actually use them. But of course, I've already gone over that. But yeah, like this is a long ass rambling rant about like, man, this game has some gross shit in it, but damn, it's really fun. Like I've really enjoyed just like going through this whole open world, like clearing it out and doing a bunch of just fun stuff. And like the battle pass is like engaging with like giving you specific tasks that like you should probably be doing anyway that you have to go and accomplish, and it's really neat. And like it's got diversified farms, right? Like if the resin costs were a bit better, like there's like artifacts that need to be farmed, like there's a bunch of different sets and stuff and variations that you're gonna have between characters, like there's all kinds of different things to be doing. And like even in terms of leveling up weapons, like we look at like the enhancement materials, I need like this mist grass wick, which comes from those mages I was talking about, plus like these weathered arrowheads, which are an upgrade material that I need, and like you're able to craft those. And like this comes from one of like the specific dungeons that is based on like the day of the week and things. Like there's all the weapons like need different versions of that. And like if we look at the character ascension as well, like they also need different specific things that you farm in different areas. So like there's just a lot of stuff that just makes it fun to grind out, because it gives you a variety to what you're farming for pretty much constantly, and I find it to be really enjoyable. But yeah, that's kind of just the long and definitely not the short of Genshin Impact. I've been really enjoying it, so expect me to do some videos on it going forward, because I'm gonna continue to play it for at least as long as I can tell, as long as the upcoming updates are pretty good, which I expect them to be. But yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed watching this. This game is, not super similar to Warframe, but hey, it's a free-to-play game with a shitload of grinding in it, so that's a big similarity in and of itself. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want guides and stuff for this game, because I know this game's been very, very popular. And I will see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.